Joining us now is NBC's Antonia Hilton, who was following the deportation case of a permanent U.S. resident who took part in protests at Columbia University, and former U.S. Attorney and former Deputy Assistant Attorney General Harry Litman. So, Antonia, grad student Mahmoud Khalil has a green card, still in custody. He's been there for, what, 3 weeks now?
That's right, Jose, since he was apprehended by ICE on March 8th. What happened in court today is that his team came in front of a federal judge here in New Jersey and argued that he needs to be released from federal custody. However, the Trump administration, their attorneys, argued that not only should he stay in custody and be set for deportation, but that this case should be moved from New Jersey, where I am right now, all the way to Louisiana. Immigration experts, attorneys that I've been speaking with, say that the government is arguing that because they believe they have a better chance with this case if they can get it in front of a Louisiana judge, because the judges there are different than this region, and because of the case law in Louisiana as well. But there were hundreds of protesters here just moments ago pushing back, not just on behalf of Khalil, his wife, who is set to give birth in a matter of just days here, but also on behalf of Rumeysa Ozturk and others that you've mentioned. They say they see that there is a pattern building here. Take a listen to some of my conversation with one of Khalil's attorneys.
They've announced that this is the first step in a broad swath of repression that's going to start with Palestinian human rights activists and probably not end there. And so for that reason, we should all be outraged, a little scared. We have to stop this and take our democracy back, because it's not going to stop with Mahmoud Khalil.
Their legal team's argument is that if this is allowed to go forward, that it could be applied. It could be a playbook applied to legal residents, to immigrants here who speak up on other issues like abortion or racial justice, if they're perceived to be against this administration. DHS has been arguing that in cases like Khalil's and others, that their activism poses a threat to U.S. foreign policy, or that they've engaged in activities in support of Hamas. But in many of these cases, like Ozturk's, we have yet to see hard evidence of that beyond some of their writings or images of them at protests on their campuses. And now knowing, because of what Rubio said to reporters just the other day, if there are 300 or more of these cases already, people who've lost their visas, it very likely means that these legal teams have a lot of work ahead of them, and we do too, Jose.
And Harry, so talk to us about the legal standing of the Secretary of State to revoke visas and even permanent residence.
Yeah, so it is remarkable. Khalil has a green card. So did the student, excuse me, picked up this morning. There's a regulation, Jose, passed in the height of the Cold War that says if the Secretary of State makes a finding that someone there are two different things going on here, aiding terrorists, that's what they say the latest student picked up did, or somehow a risk to national security, they can have their visa revoked. And there's a lot of law that says they're not going to second guess, or they may not second guess Rubio's judgment about that fact. Are they a risk to national security? So in the latest case, there's going to be a frontal attack on the actual regulation, because it is very clear that what's happened here is based only on First Amendment activity. Khalil was one of the organizers of the demonstration, and the person picked up this morning wrote an op-ed, and then based on that, Rubio made this judgment. It's really that judgment and the way it dovetails with First Amendment activity that gives pause here, but that may be the aspect of the regulatory scheme that is hardest to challenge.
And so, Harry, what kind of precedent is there for this? And you were talking about that what the legal standing of it from the Secretary of State's perspective is a Cold War law.
There is precedent for using the law without questioning the Secretary of State. Secretary of State signs a piece of paper. I think this person is a risk to national security. Now, remember, we're talking about immigration status, and as Rubio was saying, You know, it's very different to revoke a visa, especially a student visa, even a green card, than it is to charge someone with a crime. But the precedent is there for Secretary of State to determine that someone is a danger if they continue to have their immigration status permitting them to be here. I think the real thing that is animating these protesters is they think, from what we know, ain't a lot to suggest that these two people are serious risks to national security. But what the reg says is that's a call for Rubio to make, not the courts. The courts can do other things like, are you the person named? Is the regulation constitutional? But this core judgment by Rubio is going to be very hard to overturn.
And Harry, the Secretary of State has said just in the last couple of days that if you, as a potential student to the United States, when you are requesting a visa, would state that I am planning to participate in, for example, college protests or write editorials about any position, that would be enough for the visa to be rejected in that moment. Is that based on truth?
It's very loosey-goosey, as you may know if you've ever applied for visas in other countries or whatever. It's very much in the discretion of the reviewing official. But the short answer is yes, you have someone who you think is going to come over to do perfectly lawful First Amendment activity and also study. You can decide, by the grace of the United States, we're not going to give you that student visa here. So the basic idea that applies for people who are coming over to study, even green card holders, that there's, you know, a massive amount of discretion for the top. These are, you know, has to be the top people in the apparatus, Marco Rubio, to say, we don't want you here. It seems a little startling, right? It seems a little un-American. That core point, though, is what the 1952 reg provides.
Antonia Hilton and Harry Litman, thank you both so very much.